tuned in to StarCHaser Central, a podcast about Charles Hamilton music moments and everything in between. I'm Slick Braxton.
And I am Mike D. Jackson, aka Mr. Jingle My Balls.
Can you do the song for us?
No, I'm not going to do the song for us. Real rap. The reason I will not do the song because that song came out maybe like 12 years ago by now.
Mhm.
I re-listened to it. I want to say like last year or the year before. Re-listened to it. I'm like, why don't I ever play the song more? I said the F word back then, and I'm
Oh
like,
shit.
ooh, ooh. So remember, like I was probably like 22 or something like that when I made the song. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't. If I ever put the song out again, I gotta clear that up. So I'm like, yeah, ew. So yeah, no,
Well, as we always talk about, we all grow and learn.
I have, and I apologize for my past sins, and I'm a better person these days. So
Nice. Um, because it's a good thing you did, man. Because if not, you'd be on the naughty list and you wouldn't be able to enjoy this episode we're about to put out, man. Because we're reviewing a I guess a holiday tape, but we'll get more into that in a minute. We'll listen to Electric Christmas, man. Electronic Christmas.
yes, sir. Electronic Christmas. I actually got a couple notes, and also this is a more recent tape. It's been a while since we talked about something that came out recently. Electronic Christmas. I got some dates here. So it came out around June of 2023. But there is a remaster version that was released September 9th or 10th of 2023. Fun fact, this tape was recorded June 3rd of 2023. June 3rd is actually the date of Sega, as Charles has said. Um, Crazy enough, this tape was supposed to come out April 20th, 420 of this year. So the fact that like this was made last year and we weren't even supposed to get it until this year, but for some reason it ended up coming out sooner. So uh thank you, Charles, for letting this project come out. And for those that don't know, this is also similar to Hypergoth. This tape was a fan funded project. So shout out to all the Star Chasers that, donated money, helped with the process and everything like that.
The dates already put such a mystery behind this project and its title. But we can dance to that in a few seconds. Do you remember the first time that you heard this, or like me, is this your first time listening?
So, excuse me, this isn't my first time listening to it. I didn't listen to it when it first came out. I don't remember that. At some point, I did listen to it, but the first one I listened to was the regular version
Hmm.
because I remember recently going to the original playlist that Michael J. Roach, shout out to him, he's
Yep.
always good with the playlist. It has plays on there, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm like, I listened to it at some point, but from what I can remember, I don't remember much. So it's one of those things where I think from when I first heard it, I probably wasn't a fan of it. But this is when I'm like, oh, didn't like it. I probably was just like, yeah, nah, I'm just not even gonna waste my time with this. But once again, this is what this podcast is for, to actually give comprehensive listens,
Mhm.
So what about you?
Yeah, this is the first time listening for me. I've heard about the tape. I'm pretty sure I probably heard about the tape after Hypergoth. Like, I'd heard about the name of it from after Hypergoth and was like, I'll take my time getting to it. I wasn't in a rush. And then, like you said, we started this podcast, and we knew eventually we'd have to get here. And I have seen a lot of people bring it up and say they like it a lot. And I went through some of the comments via the YouTube playlist, and people were saying like, "Oh, I like this. The song is good here and there." So I'm here to give it the good old honest college try, man. Because that's what we do over here on StarCHaser Central.
That is correct. And just a heads up for you guys, well, like I said earlier, there's the regular version on YouTube, but also there is the remastered version on YouTube. So I know when we did Hyper God, when we originally listened to it, we listened to the regular version. We didn't know that there was a remastered. So I'm just saying this now. There's a regular version and a remastered version. I want to say Death 18. So you can look it up on YouTube. You'll see both of them. So
Mhm.
um, kind of like choose your own adventure, or listen to both and then see how you feel about both of them. See if you like the regular version or you like the remaster version.
Uh, did you listen to both?
So recently, oh, you know what? I'm gonna save that for the end. I
Okay.
did, but it's one of those things where it's like I'm gonna save how I feel about that at the end. One thing that is interesting, I think that this project was supposed to be on streaming at one point, like that
Mhm.
was the plan, kind
Okay.
of like HyperGoth. If I remember from one of the blog posts, Charles stated that, he woke up and then realized that there's something going on with his account and it wasn't allowing him to post anything else on there.
Mhm.
So that kind of tarnished his plans. So then it just got sent to just Bandcamp and then eventually sent to YouTube.
Got it. I didn't ask beforehand. Are we doing three, best three, and or are we doing the whole tape?
Let's do the whole tape. It's like 12, 13 songs, so it's not, too many songs to not do. And I'm in the holiday spirit. Let's do the whole thing.
All right. I'm gonna use Michael J. Roach's version mainly because I remember Charles had always talked about that lately. He's done most of his albums in alphabetical order, and this is how this one's set up. So we start off with Dig Out.
All right, so let me get to my notes because the one I last listened to was not Michael James, but I got the notes out. With Dig Out, if this is the intro, loving the beat, loving the flow on this. The hook is simple, but it works. Charles sounds a little down about maybe people not believing in him.
Mhm.
Um, but I think he's more looking for the goths and the outsiders to actually show support and step up in the absence of maybe other star chasers or faded star chasers.
Mhm.
Fans that maybe stop listening at a certain point. But he's kind of just letting everybody know, like, hey, love me or leave me alone. Like I'm doing my thing over here. Like I'm good. I'm in good spirits. This is, I would say, a standout song for this tape. So if this is the intro, I would say nice way to start the tape. I like the song.
Yeah. On my listens, I did enjoy this one above some of the other ones. It starts off pretty smooth, and it kind of gives you a positive outlook to how like the rest of the tape is gonna sound. Um, like I said, the hook is good, it's decent. The verses are cool, and yeah, it's like you said, we're in this era where like I think I want to say in the last 5 years, I feel like Charles has done like a better job of like kind of understanding that he's better at dealing with conflict. He's not as combative as he used to be. So this type of message where he's like, I just want the people who rock with me or like who are still listening aren't, fair weather fans always ask for certain stuff. I'm looking for that support or whatever. And for those who don't, obviously you still have the old music, but I'm not gonna let that bother me as much anymore. So, it's a good way to start the tape for sure. He followed that up with Doctor Alone. I did not like that one as much.
Makes
Um,
sense. Go ahead, continue.
yeah, I did not like that one as much. I think that one kind of is a step back, and I feel like this is kind of gonna be. There are a couple of things that I want to mention as the review continues on. And it's really more about I don't want to say this era of Charles, but this how Charles records now. You know what I'm saying? And how he makes music. But this one is just it feels, middle of the road. It feels like it's not low effort, but like you can tell different effort levels or different what's the word like intrigue like he's interested more in what he's creating in different songs, right? Where it's like he really liked making this one versus he made this one, but it's like it's this different levels to each, and this one is just seems to be like a step below of what we just heard. So I really wasn't feeling this one.
Understandable. The point you made about, certain interest levels, there's another song where I'm going to speak on that a little more. But
Hmm.
for this song, the beat has a menacing feel. So when it came in, I'm like, okay, might get a little spooky or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of similar to what you said. Like the verses, they feel like Charles is just ranting about, whatever he wants to talk about. Um, sounds more like a therapy session. Like he's rhyming, but it sounds more like the emotion is more important and it's seeping out more than the rhyming does. And I think it feels disconnected in that sense. It's more of him like he wanted like some type of, beat that had a certain feel to it, that had emotion to it, and he wanted to just, spill his heart out on the beat. And
Mm,
like I said, it's more emotion than actual flow and cadence than anything else. So it's just more him just talking, talking, venting on the beat. Um, Also the hook, I maybe it's the effect on the hook. It sounded like he's melting. Like it's like how it sounded. That's the best way I can explain it. For me, that's all I really got for it.
yeah, that's gonna be another thing that I think we're gonna talk about a lot. Is just partially when he's rapping, and then partially when I just feel like venting. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like I don't even want to call it like therapeutic raps, but it's kind of like that, where it's like I just need to get some stuff off my chest versus I'm trying to make a song, I guess is what I'm getting at. We forgot to talk about the cover. The cover is clearly it's like a microchip, but into the design of a Christmas tree, which is crazy. That's kind of what like chips look like, where the different branching arches or whatever as they break apart. How'd you feel about that cover?
For the cover, it's called Electronic Christmas, and then you can kind of see that being a chip, and then obviously it's green, and then I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Hmm.
It we know there's a lot of Charles tapes where like the cover, the name of the title of the project will be Blase Blah,
Hmm.
and then the cover will be something completely different. It's like, why? With this Electronic Christmas, you see green, you see the tree, you see, the chip. So I'm like, okay, Electronic Christmas.
Hmm.
Makes sense. So I didn't think about it too much, but I'm like, it's a cool cover. It's kind of simple, but at the same time, it has its little complexities to it. So I'm cool with it.
Yeah, it's cool. And like I said, the cover itself is that what we will have a question about later on, but we will have a question about this tape and its title soon. Um, we followed the next song is Getting the It, I believe is the title. Is that right? Or am I on the wrong one?
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, I would call it that, getting the it, because I know on the remaster playlist, it's getting, and then like it's a underscore the it, but for Michael J, it's just getting the it. So
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. Either way, getting the it, that's what we'll call it.
Okay.
So for this song, soulful type beat. So when I heard it come in, I'm like, okay, I was very hopeful. So I'm like, hey, Charles does pretty well on soulful type songs. It's like either he's going to be emotional or he's just going to, flow on it a certain way. Um, for me, the song falls halfway through the first verse. At first, when I'm listening to it, I'm like, okay, all right. And then I'm like, okay. Um, so I remember he was talking about how about I get the money? How about you take the money, you greedy bastard? I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
Maybe he stumbled a little bit. Maybe he's about to like hiccup or burp or something like that. And then
Hmm.
he never really got it back together. Same thing happens with the second verse. So he mentions love in the either gothic bug or Gotham bug, where he's like, "Oh, you got the love from the gothic bug, the gothic bug. You got love, you got love from the gothic bug. I know you got a lot of love from the gothic bug. You got love from the gothic bug. I got some love from." I'm like, come on, man.
Right.
What is this? Um, so he wastes like about 6 bars doing that, right? And
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, this song's a wash for me. I had high hopes for it, but then that thing in the first verse, the second verse, I'm like, nah, nah. There's nothing that's going to be able to save this song for me. Um, we've talked about Charles saying, I'm out here having fun in the studio, and you guys aren't there, and I want you guys to witness this and see
Hmm.
this and experience this with me. If this is what he means by having fun in the studio, I disagree.
Hmm.
You're having fun in the studio, yeah. But me watching that or hearing that does not entice me to enjoy or have fun, while you're in the studio. That just seems like a one-man army type of thing.
Hmm.
Um the hook, he was doing like this who won ball in love. He's doing that. It reminded me of like a emo Ja Rule crooning. That's the best way I could explain that. Um What else I got here? I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, like the I don't know if they would call it stumbling or what, but just he basically just sounded drunk and unfocused. Like literally, it sounded like he was drinking before, so he was probably high too. So got in the booth, recorded something. Yeah, that sounds good. Yep.
Mhm.
I was having so much fun recording that. Maybe it sounded like that, but like sonically, no, it didn't sound good. Personally to me, no. No.
Yeah, I think again we talk about how just your scenario just now where like, he says, he wished we could be in the studio to experience like what he was going through or like what he was, going what was happening in the studio while he was recording it. And I just want him if I was there, I would feel like I might be like, "Oh, that was funny," but like you should probably do that over. Like I just feel like that's how I would say it. Cause I'm like I, I don't know if everybody's going to receive that the way that you're thinking they're going to receive it. And I'm not saying there isn't moments where you can do that because I feel like he's done stuff like that in songs where it's like, okay, he stumbles or he makes some reference or whatever, or he adds some personality, some type of voice inflection, some accents, whatever, right? But it's still part of the song and it doesn't disrupt the flow of the song. And I think in this latter portion of his recording, I feel like there are more distractions or like disruptors of flows than actual pieces of a song. And I feel like that's kind of what happens here. But to me, that's not even really the verses thing part and the summer thing, that's bad, but I've kind of gotten used to that portion. It's the hook making for me, where it's like I used to be able to count on like Charles Hamilton hooks consistently. Like I was like, I like this hook, I like this hook. Now it's like, how do I explain it? I think you know what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to figure out how the words to explain it. It's how we were talking about like vibes and like emotions versus actual like the crafting of the hooks. Like he's saying things and they he's crooning to make them add emotions to it, but like there's no real connection between me and the hook that's being provided. So I hear him crooning. I hear him doing like the super raspy, super raspy or Bruce Springsteen thing, but it's like it's not connecting the same way as it would maybe previous, like on a reminder or like a one of those older darker tracks, right? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is another wash for me as well.
I would say for this, so let's say with certain songs when he's singing or going about it in a certain cadence, I think the reason why there's no connection because with the previous song we did where I said for Dr. Alone, right? The sometimes the emotion that he wants to display, he's making that or forcing using force
Hmm.
to like kind of push that out and make that more of the forefront than
Hmm.
kind of putting the things together into a nice sequence or a nice package. It's more like I'm forcing the song to be emotional. I'm forcing the song to be sad. I'm forcing the song to be, and the what you're trying to go for, we see it. We see exactly. But
Hmm.
when it actually comes out together, like finished product wise, it's like it's here, here, and then you miss something here, and then think about building the table, right? You got to go by all the steps. If you miss a step for like four, you can't finish six and seven because you got to go back and redo how you did it before. And the way he might go about certain songs, it's just like, well, you already did that, so that's done. You're going to try and continue. It's not going to make it any better. So
Yeah, you know what else it's like? It's like because you when you said you were talking, I was thinking like, how can I connect this to wrestling again? You can be like the most talented like wrestler in the world, right? You can be a Ricochet, right? But if your mic skills, like your promo skills don't connect, it feels like there's a cap to where a song can go or where cap where you can go. And I feel like that's what happens with a lot of these newer songs, at least some of the ones that we've reviewed so far. There's plenty more we haven't reviewed yet. But when you're trying to force the emotional part of it or the vibe part of it, there's only so far you can go because it feels like you're sacrificing certain elements just for that portion. So even if I meet that portion, it's like, okay, yeah, I see the vibe you were going for. There's no other substance or no other elements that I can latch on to make it go to another step or another tier higher. So yeah, I feel like that's what we run into. At least two of the first three so far that we've listened to. Um, we do follow that up with handheld, and I will say I did like that one. That one felt a little bit more. I felt a little bit more. Again, that interest level we were talking about. That feels like it's a little bit more interest there, and like he was having a little bit more better time enjoying that one. It reminds me of not reminds me, but it was like how you said the last one had the soulful stuff to it. I like this one a lot more, and I feel it more. I feel that energy with them, the selection and the parallel that he's running with the beat. So I like this one. This was another standout for me.
Nice. So for handheld, I figured this is going to be like the love song of the tape. I could be wrong. This is my personal opinion. I felt like this kind of sounded like a new age DSW. Like if he was to like try and remake that song in like, current platform, current, climate, it'd be
Hmm.
something like this. Um, it's pretty interesting because Charles didn't mention on his blog. I'll mention some of this later because I went back on the blog and seeing some posts that he did have about Electronic Christmas. And he said for Hypergoth, right? Some of the songs he had, maybe if he was mentioning love and whatnot, he was too cryptic. So he tried to be more open minded and open hearted when he wanted to talk about love.
Hmm.
So for this song, um, nice chops on the beat. Sounds like Charles is trying to make an old relationship work again. Um, he does like more of a speaking flow where he's rapping, but it's more like he's talking into the mic and like I think it makes the song sound more like an intimate conversation with
Yeah.
whatever girl he's talking to. So trying to just make it work again. And it's like, hey, obviously I'm not, loud and boisterous. It's like there's some mistakes either on my part, your part, our part, but I want to, kind of let you know, hey, I want to hold your hand. I want to try again. Hook is simple but nice. Song's okay. So, definitely a song that I would probably play more often compared to like Doctor Alone or Getting the Hit. So
Do you mind if I hold your hand? I said, do you mind if I hold your hand? I get weak when you're not around. Baby, I get weak when you're not around.
We have ill music next.
Ill music. The song is ill. Now you might like it raw. I like it ill.
Hmm.
Uh funky type of beat. I'm thinking about this now. I guess and it maybe not because of the name, but it does kind of remind me of ill doesn't mean classic.
Hmm.
Um Charles gets oh, I think this is the song right here. One of the songs. I feel like Charles gets in the gear in the first verse. We have some songs where like he'll kind of like start a certain way, and then you might not even get there till the second verse, third verse. But it's like he gets in gear first verse. He's spitting on here, and the flow's great. And I feel like it's like that throughout the other verses as well. It sounds like he really likes this beat compared to the other songs. So this is what you were saying earlier. Like he seemed more invested. Like he was feeling the beat more. And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna really I'm gonna really try and say something on here. So hook's okay, but overall song's good. I like the song.
Yeah, this is one of the more memorable tracks again. I like the hook again, simple, but I do like it. I like what he's doing there. It's not like a high level like hook, but it's simplistic enough and ties to the song itself that it's like, okay, I at least have that connection. And he's, what I'm saying, the verses are good. Um, I did find myself playing this one a couple of times. I was like, 'cause I had to really go back and be like, do I like this for real? Like, or is it just, or is this being carried by the hook or whatever? But I do like the song. The song is definitely one of the more memorable compared to the rest of the album. Um, why is this called Electronic Christmas? Why? I have to know because like here's the thing, right? It's like if you hadn't have brought it up to me and in our conversation throughout the week, I would have just assumed that this came out in December. But I remember that Hypergolf came out in December of 2022,
Um,
2021.
I- yeah,
Yeah, something like
I think
that.
it's
Um, so I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, well, did it come out in 2023 December? But that doesn't make any sense because we were, you know what I'm saying? We were, what's it called? We were podding at that point. So I got confused. But so then when you said it didn't even come out during the Christmas, I was like, that's why. Why is this called Electronic Christmas?
So one thing I did see on Twitter, because I'm not calling it X, um, on last year of Christmas though, this did come out on SoundCloud. Like I
Okay.
guess Charles, either Charles or someone uploaded it on SoundCloud, so it did come out on SoundCloud. But if you're talking about YouTube and everything else, it was already out. I'm not sure. Honestly, like when I was like going on the blog and looking up other stuff, I didn't see why it's called Electronic Christmas. Apparently, though, this is a three-part series, technically, I guess you can call it. Charles, you can correct me if I was wrong. So there was Hypergoth, the first one.
Hmm.
I think Computer Voodoo was the second, which was kind of like, kind of like a part two, I guess you could say. And then Electronic Christmas was like number three. But
Okay.
like they're kind of like a series, and I think maybe because I'm not sure about Voodoo, but the other two we talked about with this and Hypergoth, fan funded projects, and if you're just talking about like why he named it Electronic Christmas because it was supposed to come out 420, maybe that's the only thing. Because 420, trees, Christmas, even though that's not Christmas, but some people treat 420 like it's a Christmas day,
Sure.
So that's the only thing I could think of. That's it. I didn't see anything Charles explaining why the name was Electronic Christmas. He might have some type of explanation, but there's like a couple of blog posts about it where he was just updating people on it, and I didn't
Mhm.
see why he was going to name it this.
Maybe just treat it as a gift. Just as a gift for the Star Chase or whatever. Um, I guess it's really heavy on the electronic portion of things. So there is that. Um, we followed up our next song and we have Masturbate.
Interesting name. And spelled Bait. So,
Yes.
baiting, Um, I'll be honest. I don't think I'm a fan of this beat. And it's rare for me to just be like instantly, oh, don't like the beat, but
Hmm.
that will really tarnish or hurt a song because you we talk about like someone like Nas, right? Before he got out with Hit Boy, so many people said, yo, Nas can rap, but he picks horrible beats, whatever.
Hmm.
A lot of people felt like that would hurt his standing with songs. Um, it has like a Gregorian chant feel, I guess, and then like some other sounds are in there too. But to me, it sounds like they're kind of clashing. Like they're all there and they're being played a certain way, and like the kicks are where the kicks are at, the
Hmm.
snare and the drums, and they're supposed to be where they're at. But I think it's that sample. Like I just don't like it. Like it's not harsh on my ears technically. I just don't like it. Um, I tried to really listen hard for the verses. I feel like the verses are decent. I don't feel like he was like doing anything too bad on the verses, but the
Hmm.
beat, nah, the beat's not for me. So that kind of just overall soured me on the experience of the song. For the verses though, when I was listening, I'm like, he has a flow going. I don't know if there's that much substance to the verses. I didn't really hear much that made me pick up on anything. I know on the hook he was like telling you like he's gonna show you who the master is, But other than that, I'm like, I nothing. I really ain't got nothing.
Hmm. Yeah, it's one of those ones where I literally had to go back and listen to it to know what song was playing. And I'll get into a little bit more about that later. Um, so when I went back and I heard, I was like, it's just there's nothing to differentiate it. I guess for you it's the beat for sure, but I feel like there are other ones where it's like uh the beat kind of is noticeable and it's like, oh, I know what this is off a rip, right? But this one just seems very I want it seems bland. It doesn't seem like it has any pizzazz to it, any like I say, any substance to it. It just seems like I wanted to title this cleverly, and then this is the song that came of it, right? I think with maybe a better substance or better subject matter or something that a concept that he wanted to go into it with, I feel like he probably could have really ripped that one. Or maybe even changed the beat or whatever. But yeah, it's this one's just it just seems again, like I said, middle of the road. Doesn't really It's like driving down a highway that's 60 miles per hour. It's like, I mean, we're driving, but like, I really want to go 70, 75. Mayfield's Blues.
So with this song, I'll be honest. I think when I first heard it, I was like,
You
but
wanted
it's
to hate it, right?
yeah, it's grown on me. It's definitely grown on me. For some reason, can't explain why, but the song kind of reminds me of Parappa the Rapper. I don't know if you played the first game before, but if you have,
Yeah.
there's a one part where he's with the rooster, the chicken,
Hmm.
the crack, crack, crack the egg into the bowl, and I X the flour to the bowl. For some reason, that song makes me think of Parappa the Rapper. Not in a bad way. I like that game. Shout out to Parappa.
Yeah, shout out to Parappa, man. He was a visionary.
Yeah, he before Chance the Rapper, there's Parappa the Rapper.
Better
But
than Chance the Rapper.
there, I said it on Twitter like probably a couple of times. I know there's some tweets somewhere. Um, but the song actually sounds like a Sunday morning with your spouse. You know what I mean? You're waking up, she's probably cooking and whatnot. You know, and this might be another one of those songs where it's like, talking about love, whatever. I think what probably threw me off originally was the hook. I think the hook was why I probably was like, man, what is he doing? But your lips taste like oatmeal, tastes like oatmeal. Put some butter on it, a little sugar on it. But I'll say this: the way that I felt about, I think it was a getting to it,
Hmm.
where I was like, if this is you having fun in the studio, I would say this song, if you're having fun in the studio like this,
Hmm.
this does sound like fun. It does sound enjoyable. Sounds like you were, definitely trying to make some magic. You know what I mean? Um, but also maybe I was kind of hating because I don't eat oatmeal. I'm not a fan of it. So part of me might have been like that. But
Yeah.
who am I to say anything? Because I used to put bologna in my spaghetti. So,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
lo you lost all you lost all credibility with that, brother. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
listen. You about to have a real electronic Christmas. You keep playing with me. I'm about to send you a virus. I'm playing. I'm playing. That might be terroristic threats. Let me chill.
Oh God. Um, yeah, when I heard this song, bro, I was like, because the verses, first verse, I was like, okay, this is good. The beat was nice. I was like, oh, this is gonna be okay. This is gonna be all right. And then that hook came on, and I was like, come on, man. I was like, come on, man. I was so mad. And so then I listened to her song, the second verse, and the hook came on again. I was like, what's the boat on it? Hey. I was like, oh, they got me. He was like, he got me. So that's the kind of personality I don't mind. Like that's it's a silly type of hook, but it kind of matches with the song. So you know what I'm saying? So when I heard it, I was like, this is you got me. You got me. This is probably my favorite song on the tape. I'm gonna be honest with you. I definitely went in was like, I'm not gonna like this song. This is annoying. But you know what? He got me. I really like this song. Definitely my favorite on the tape.
Call me the 8-bit threat. What I say next ain't ancient yet. Make a mistake, goddamn. Blake and Black. There you go, take your respect. Niggas ain't listen, so Blake, I connected with the rim without touching it, throwing it in. Griffin, like Peter, or is it Gilmore? Whoever's a believer, I go deep.
And that's the one thing I want to emphasize. Like we can admit that. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like a song, you don't like a song. If you slowly like a song, like you got to give it up. You know what I mean? I'm never going to just be like, oh, don't like it. Never going to like it.
Yeah.
Y'all know I've said this multiple times. I used to be like, nope, I don't like Loserville, and then eventually, slowly but surely, I liked it. So there are some songs that Charles has that slowly but surely, you have to keep listening. Then you're like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it was, or it's not as whatever. So shout out to you, Charles. You did your thing with that one.
Yeah,
I
for
still
sure.
don't like oatmeal, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't understand that part. I mean, it's not the greatest, but like it's great. It's very healthy. It's a very healthy treat, and if you get the right one, it's delicious. But it's fine. You don't really eat like cream of wheat and nothing like that, right?
Nah, I don't eat cream wheat. No, nah, nah.
You eat
My
grits.
brother, my brother used to, whatever. He used to eat the fuck out of some oatmeal and cream of wheat, and I'm like, uh, all right.
All right, one more. Do you eat grits?
Oh,
It's a texture thing, then.
yeah. For me, I think I'm not a fan of that. So
I got it. Okay. He follows it up with My People.
So shout out to Stevie. You know what I mean? That's easily you can hear Stevie Wonder on that.
Hmm.
Beats pretty groovy. I don't know how I feel about the hook though.
Hmm.
Um, Not a fan of the crooning on this one either for the hook. The verses are pretty strong. They sound pretty strong. Charles, I felt like he had like a message in there too. Um, Also sounds like Charles once again looking for support from his people, not
Hmm.
not everybody, but just his people, the Gothics, the Star Chasers, the fans,
Hmm.
whoever is really, down for his cause. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think like overall song's decent. It's just like the hook when it came in, I was like, well, even if he did like a simple hook, I'd be cool. But then he starts doing the Lord my shepherd. I'm like less is more. Like we've said all the time, less is more. And I felt like this hook didn't ruin the song, but it's like takes it down a couple notches. But overall, decent song. I still like it because of the verses.
Um, the beat's good. I like the beat. I like like I said, the what he does with the Stevie sample is really good. Um, I don't know if the song is something I'm gonna play again. It's just one of those things where it's like, again, it's the interest level thing, man, where it's like I want him to be invested in every song, but it doesn't always feel that way. But I know that's not true because of the way Charles records, right? He there's a he kind of has like a minimum. I'll say this: he has like a minimum baseline for like interest level of what he does. Like he has to have some form of interest level in what he creates. But I think once he gets to that point, sometimes things go further above it, and but never goes below. So it's like, I don't want to say minimum effort, but it's just like it's just there for me. I've said that about other tapes or whatever, but it's like songs just they're there. It's like you added it, and sometimes, like you said, less is more. Maybe we just don't put this on the tape. There's sometimes some songs just don't need to be on the tape, especially if it doesn't cohesively sound uh good together. And this might be an example of that because the beat's great. I've seen him do stuff where he does like just the instrumental of a song, and that's it. And sometimes maybe you just need to do that. Like you have plenty of beat tapes that you could put out, and I think people would enjoy that. So for me, this one's just it's the beat's good, but it's nothing that I'm gonna run to. Um, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, bro. The next one's New Life. I don't remember what this sounds like. I
Okay.
feel I feel like I might like it, but I'm not sure.
Well, I could talk about it while you get a quick listen, just
Yeah.
remind yourself. So for the version I listened to, the remastered version, that was the actual first song that came on for this version. Um, so this beat to me, it does have like a Christmas feel to it. I'm not sure exactly what you sampled. It could have been some type of Christmas related song. But it definitely sounds like a Christmas song. Sounds exciting, like Christmas Eve. Especially when you're younger, you're just like can't sleep. You're just ready to get the day over with, and you're ready for Christmas to actually happen. But it's that um, I won't say it's that hyper God feeling, but it's that feeling of being excited and ready to get into the next day and get into the presents and everything.
Hmm.
Um, Charles does the relaxed flow. I call it the freestyle flow, even though some of these are brain written or whatever you want to call it. The making plans, going up and I'm shaking hands. I see the band and I see a stand. He does that, whatever, which
Hmm.
I'm not the biggest fan of because like I said, it sounds like you're freestyling. It sounds
Yeah.
maybe like the low effort thing that we're talking about, whatever. And it's not necessarily like low effort, but it like I said, it just sounds like you're freestyling. It sounds like you're just putting words together. Um, Second verse, I remember he mentions about smoking 3 blunts. I'll be home in 3 months. Then he talks about two people. One doesn't exist. They both go to award shows. It's like, okay, what is the 3 blunts being home in 3 months? And then there's these two people. One doesn't exist. One does. You're going to the award shows. Someone does this. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Hmm.
That doesn't really, that's what I mean by that. This is why this sounds like the freestyle flow because
Yeah.
you're going A and B, C and D, but between those rhymes, what is the connection?
Hmm.
Then third verse, he mentions Um, how's that sound? Something, something. Owen Hart turnbuckle. We know what happened with Owen Hart in that turnbuckle, but
Yeah.
it's like, why is that being mentioned in this song?
Hmm.
Why are you mentioning Owen Hart's death when you were talking about something else in the first other two verses?
Hmm.
Uh, Not trying to be like Brett. And it's like, so when I'm thinking of some of the stuff that he was mentioning, it might sound disconnected or jumbled up. Maybe Charles is talking about reflecting on his recent trouble and wanting to get past it by moving on.
Hmm.
That's what I'm thinking because if you think about the timeline of this was June of 2023. We know the DV stuff, whatever, and Charles being in being in low spirits and just trying to move on from life. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And just looking for a new life.
Yeah.
And like I said, the beat sounds like hopeful. Hey, I'm hoping to get past this. But overall, song wise, man, I do like the beat. But like I said, the verses, like I said, sounds like he's just talking about anything, just talk about anything.
And I think with that type of flow, right? You can get away with that if you have the if you infuse the personality into it, right? But because he's having that monotone, very low. Remember how in the early portion of Charles' career, one of the knocks that people had on him was like, oh, it just sounded like it sounds like he's really bored rapping, or sounds monotone or lethargic rapping. I didn't understand it back then because I was like, that's not true at all. You just must have heard one song and it sounded like that to you. I would understand the sentiment more today because it's so up and down which what Charles you're gonna get. Sometimes he provides some type of energy to it, sometimes he doesn't, or it doesn't sound like it or whatever. And so yeah, I think you probably could have gotten away with that on something like this if he had done that. Something like this is like, yeah, it's like words are falling down out of the sky and you're just picking them and putting them together, picking them and putting them together, picking them and putting them together. So, yeah, the beat, like I said, is very energetic. It reminds me of like something that could probably even play like on an old school 80s NBA game that's about to happen. Dun 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 dun. We have the Boston Celtics taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. That's what it sounds like. And that would be really cool if that was something he would do. But other than that, it's like, like I said, it seems like a randomly put together song.
I think this is one of those situations where it's the classic saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Hmm.
Like take those same words and then or take those same bars and then, put a different spin on it a little bit and then, it might sound different.
Yeah.
It might sound better, it might sound worse, it just all depends. But you are right. I do understand nowadays the monotone thing because before I didn't understand it back then because people would say that about me. And I'm like, that might just be like the not nervousness, but not knowing how I wanted to rap back in the day.
Yeah.
Because when you're first rapping, it's like, yeah, maybe, you don't know exactly. I didn't know how Mike Jackson was supposed to sound. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you could have said that back then. Like, maybe because Charles was like 19, 20, he didn't know how Charles Hampton was supposed to sound on songs. Like you
Yeah.
didn't know that Charles sound. But nowadays it's like Charles knows exactly how he wants to sound, and he wants to sound exactly like that. And
Hmm.
for better or worse, that's how it comes out.
Uh, I want to say this is premium drum. Is how we're pronouncing it?
Yeah, dram. I
Okay. I'm gonna go with drum. Uh, the hook ruins the song like and immediately. Um, it's just one of those things where it's like I, d- it just feels too forced. Like I feel like I get it. I get what you're going for. I get where the emotion and things are supposed to go, but the singing, man, this is one of the examples where it's like it does not work on this song. It matches the beat per se, but like I feel like there was a better way to do that. And yeah, I just once you hear that hook the first time, it's like you really can't ever recover from it because like when that verse is over, it's coming back, and it's just hard to get through that song fully, um, knowing that. So this one is definitely a skip for me for sure.
So let me get my notes together on this one. Um so the beat sets the tone, right?
Hmm.
This is another song kind of like New Life where it has like a Christmas type of feel to it for me. It sounds sad and emotional. It makes me think about like when family or whoever having an argument right before Christmas or right during the holidays, and either someone leaves or gets kicked out. Like one of those type of things. And like it sounds like, let's say if I was painting the scene or the picture, Charles, might have gotten some type of situation, argument, fight, whatever, and then now he's out in the cold, just spilling his emotions out, just
Yeah.
saying how he feels. Um, Once again, kind of similar to Getting to It. Charles doesn't sound focused on the song. He sounds maybe a little drunk. I know there's a one part I think in the beginning where he's just like, um, he said something about you don't believe it's true, or you don't think this because it has nothing to do with you, and it's like I don't know if that's a shot to the naysayers or the people that maybe didn't help fund the project or whatever the case is, but it's kind of like, oh well, you're just hating on it because you didn't help out on it because you don't believe in it. Oh, I always believed in me. I always believed in this. I always, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's venting a little bit, and then it's your fault, my the yodeling. I've said this
Yeah.
before on like I don't know which project it was, but it was one of the projects where I was like, no, like the crooning sometimes can work. The yodeling like that, no, like never. Like
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of it, never liked it. Um, it the best way I can explain this, because I think in the second or third verse, might have been the third verse, it's like, who's going to kill it with me? uh, sounds like he's just like I said, he's still kind of lit. Just like is him wanting to express his emotions about being sad or whatever, but then him being lit. So it's like I'm making up for it. So that's why I'm sounding like this now. Um, this is not to be in a disrespectful way. It sounds like mid song he's having an episode. Like he's going through something, and it's like someone should have been like, "Ah, let's not record this." And it's like,
Yeah.
nope, I want to record this in real time, real life, so everyone can see exactly what's going on. Because for like research purposes and stuff like that, documentation, understandable. But yeah, for a song, no, no, not at all. This is I'd probably say this is like my least favorite song from the state.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. That I forgot about that laughing portion. It happens in the third and the first verse. That ha ha ha. I'm like, you just remember back when when Charles used to laugh on tracks and like it matched. It like messed with the stuff, right? And it's like that one was just again, it's that using force thing that we talk about, where it's like you're forcing this portion on it. It's like it's just I feel like it's an unnecessary move on something like this. Like you could have made an emotional track like this. This could have worked with I think a different approach to the song. Um
Real quick, I did want to. I'm not gonna read all of them right now. I just want to read one post that Charles had about. Actually, has to do with Force technically.
okay.
On his blog. So, this post was called "Surviving Electronic Christmas." I'm not gonna read all of it, just some bits and pieces.
Hmm.
Because he said, "I'm seriously considering Electronic Christmas to be my last and final album. It's the first album I'm completely confident in. Batty bore witness." Sutter H, who was the engineer, and I had great chemistry mixing the album. The libation was potent. The earth was heavenly. The only problem came in around track 11 when 4 started burning my teeth again. Now, I'm not sure which one is track 11 compared to the playlist we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yours and mine are both different. But there is a difference between speaking with authority and speaking with force. I can speak with authority, but that usually results in and is spawned from anger. Speaking with force takes a lot out of an individual. Me. It's like busting nuts from your right ball, left tip. Hard nut to crack. I was speaking with force for the whole album. It's truly a magical experience. I'm glad we caught it on tape. Um, when he says speaking with authority and speaking with force, like I said earlier about, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Hmm.
I feel like it's the same type of thing. I know with me personally, like, because I'm someone that my face always looks like this, and I try to remind people, like, when I say certain things, I'm not yelling at you or I'm not mad at you. Like, I just try to, what's the word? Not authority, but uh, being assertive. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And recently, I've learned that I can speak being assertive, and then there's just me being a dickhead. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like most of the time, people understand exactly what I mean. Like I'm not being a dickhead unless I'm being a dickhead. So
Right.
I've always worried about that personally for me. I think Charles is doing something similar, trying to speak with being assertive and then not trying to be aggressive. It's one of those type of deals. But like you said, the whole force thing, it's like yeah, using force in the music, speaking with force, but sometimes forcing it, it comes out forced, and
Hmm.
that might not always be the best thing. So, and that might just be a thing he might be still dealing with today. Because I know with me, even with the assertion thing with my coworkers, I still deal with that. Because I'm like trying to make sure they understand I'm saying this as a teaching thing. I'm saying this as a lesson thing, not a
Right.
oh I'm trying to be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, so it's a fine line. I've seen people. Mine isn't necessarily assertive and dickhead. More is mine is like seriousness and sarcasm. Where because I'm known to be sarcastic, some people just assume everything I say is sarcastic, and sometimes I'm really serious. So I've been trying to. I've always had that's something I've always had to work on as time has gone on, as I know who I am as a person. So we all have our lines that we have to try to draw and work with as we grow up or whatever. Usherettes is the next track.
Interesting name because I know like when you go to the movies, those the people that work there they're called ushers. So I'm assuming usherettes are the women, but they might just be called ushers too. You know, shout out to Usher Raymond, I guess. Uh, I don't know why I just felt like I had to shout out Usher, man. So um, I said this is a smooth flowing sample flip. The hook's good. Um, now here's why I'm giving props, right? Because I know we were talking about the crooning and the yodeling, and I'm
Yep.
like, this nigga, the singing's off point.
Hmm.
Charles singing can be hit or miss, but this old school style that he's doing for the song works for this song.
Yeah.
I think it personally works for this song. He's doing "Let me take my time." He's doing that, and I'm like, it for this song, yes. For this beat,
Hmm.
yes. That's fine. That's completely fine. The verses are cool. The I guess I'll call this I talk about the Atari sound sometimes. It's
Hmm.
like the 808 bass. It complements the song because it's playing its part. It's not like super in there the whole beat. It's just uh to accentuate it. It's just like you put some bass in there and it has a doom 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 doom.
Hmm.
It works. So this is a really good song. I like this song.
Yeah. This one is definitely it's a good palate cleanser from the previous one as well. So I don't know if this is a good song because of how it falls in the order of how I listen to it, or if this is a good song. Me personally, I think it's a decent to good song, depending on the mood I'm in. But the beat is fantastic. I love the beat. Like you said, this singing actually is a good marriage with the beat and with the vibe of the record. It's not distracting, it's not interrupting, it's not something that's gonna be like cut you off from actually enjoying the record, right? So it kind of it's not overpowering or overbearing. Like I say, it's a smooth record, which is like I said, a good way to kind of turn from where we just came from, especially that very heavy emotional um yodeling type singing and record or whatever. So I like it. It was definitely a standout for sure. But we finish off with Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah, interesting name. And I feel like a lot of these songs could be the same thing, like with the title of this project. It's called
Mhm.
Electronic Christmas, but then you got names like that, and I'm like, what's so with the names, you know? Um, I don't have too many notes on this one. The beat's good, verses are okay, hook's nice with the auto tune. I think I like that the most. Song's all right, you know what I mean? Other than that, I'm like, all right, it's it's one of those things where the song's there, but it's not like it's there, like it's blah. It's like, it's a little bit better than that. You know what I mean? It's not really on my like, oh, this is really good. I'm like, it's okay. It's cool. So that's all I got for it.
What was the name of the dude who landed the plane in the water in the ocean? Remember that?
When was this?
It's like in the it's like last decade between 2010 2020. A plane was coming down and he landed in like the ocean or whatever. God, I wish I knew what his name was.
I can't think of
It's another American Dad thing. I swear, all my news shit comes from American Dad for some reason. Whatever. Dude, what's called? Dude, this is how I describe the last three songs. The plane is coming down with premium drown. That's the plane has been struck. The engines have cut off. We're going down. Usherette's kind of gets us back on track, and then Vanilla Fudge is like the landing. It's not a smooth landing, but you know what? We all survived, and that's how I feel like how the last three songs end the tape. I like it. It's pretty decent. Like I said, it's nothing that's gonna blow your socks off. Shout out to Jingle My Balls. Um, but
nice,
it,
nice, nice
you like
fucking.
that?
The crazy thing is, when I was going to do my intro, I was gonna like have a sock, but I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that because that's too, yeah, I don't know. But nice. Nah, shout out to you for doing your history, man.
But when it came on, I was like, this is okay. This is fine. After this ride that I've been on with this album, this is a nice way to end the tape. It's fine. We started off pretty good. We're ending decent. So I like it. It was cool.
Word, word. Okay, got you. Real quick, I want to read some other blog posts that we had. Like I said earlier, this was supposed to be come out on 420.
Hmm.
Charles flipped this a couple times because there's some blog post that said, yeah, planning for 420. And
Hmm.
then I guess he switched it. And then he's like, okay, we're back to 420. Then he might have switched it again. Oh, back to 420. So I am interested in why he was going to do 420 and then he ended up deciding not to.
Hmm.
And it kind of reminds me of what was it? I think it was Hove Kitty. And I,
Yeah.
I told you about that project where I remember that year, like 2012 or something, where he was like, oh, I'm coming out with something on March, June, and then September of like the 21st of those months.
Hmm.
Don't ask me nothing else. And then eventually he was like, fuck it, they're all coming out now. And it was like, I think with Charles, he ends up making so much music, he just backlogs himself so much where he's like, nah, I really gotta put this out now.
Yep.
Because by the time I think he has the same thing where it's like by the time if it comes out, eventually I might not even want to play this now or want y'all to hear this now at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? But one thing I did want to read was with this being remastered, right?
Hmm.
Charles said, I work hard to make my music sound vintage, not lo-fi. Modern technology, yesterday's warmth, AM radio vibes, So just to give y'all a little bit more information on that. Also, Charles said in another post, it's not that I'm not looking for smoke. I'm simply not looking for smoke. If some shit goes down because my free music is dominating the marketplace, I suggest motherfuckers come talk to me directly. If you put money behind what I do, I'm out of here. And everyone knows it. Like, listen to Electronic Christmas. My StarCHasers put money behind it, and I showed my ass. This time, I got and was more comfortable in the studio. Less people, minimal production, etc. So, and I'll read some other ones later on. So,
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I will say I didn't think this tape sounded lo-fi at all. I know that was something that was brought up. I think that's a more of a early 2010, uh, 2012 type of situation, 2011. You know what I'm saying? That was when that was really at its peak. But since then, I think people kind of understand that sometimes he's gonna do something where you're gonna need headphones, which I think he makes most of his music for headphones. Um, but the sound of it felt fine to me. I didn't really have an issue with it. I listened mainly to the pre-mastered version, so I didn't listen to the remastered. Um, but yeah, it sounded fine to me.
I'm going to have to agree because after listening to the remaster version, I kind of went back and listened to the regular version, and I will say this because Charles said Electronic Christmas was recorded in the studio. I recorded Kill the Reaper and Hypergoth. So he went back to the same place to record, those projects.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things where I want to say maybe a month or two after Electronic Christmas came out, Charles did ask on Twitter, like, hey, I need some feedback, y'all. Let me know. How y'all feeling about it?
Hmm.
And on Twitter, no one responded to it. So I'm sure they probably responded somewhere else.
Hmm.
But for me, I'm just like the way we listen to Hypergoth, and I remember being like, yeah, this sounds like this and that. And then people said, oh, there's a remastered version. And Charles, oh, there's a remastered version. It's like, I wish we would have knew that before. But this
Right.
time I'm like, I don't think that it was necessarily needed. It's nice to have it though, but like
Hmm.
for me, I don't feel like there's too many songs. There might be one or two where I'm like, the remaster might sound a little better, but it's not something where I feel like it interferes with the quality of it that much.
Yeah. Are you ready to review?
Yeah, I only have like one or two more things I'm gonna read, but yeah, I'm ready.
But we listened to Hyper Golf. We did before. We listened to Electric Christmas today, actually. In 2024, which isn't that far from when it came out. But let us know what you're giving it as far as review, any pros and cons, and the character rating you're giving it today, Mike.
All right, so two more things I'm gonna read. This was Electronic Christmas Wish List Part One. Not the whole thing, but if you guys do want to read, the whole thing, you already know where to go, but I'll explain it later. Charles said, I wish I could think less for the StarCHaser funded project. So much thought went into Hypergoth that it corroded my nasal passage. Swear to God. Ask about over knowing something. In fact, don't. You can only get it here. When you know too much, it clogs your nasal passage. When you speak from your soul, you sound nasally. And then Charles was also talking about at this point, like I said earlier, he was really thinking about making this his last project.
Hmm.
And I think we kind of all know how that goes. Not saying that Charles is lying, but Charles has said this a couple times
Sure.
in his career. And like I'll say this, I'm glad he's wrong when he decides to be like, yeah, it's my last project. And then he comes out with something else.
Hmm.
Because he always has to remind people, just because it's my last project doesn't mean I stop making music. It's just maybe the last thing I'm gonna come out. And then the last thing I'm gonna read on here real quick. Um, Electronic Christmas took a lot out of me. I'm usually alone in the studio. I don't trust outside engineers, and I was doing a videotape. I trusted a lot for the love of my Star Chasers. I didn't say this before, but I'll say it now. There are behind the scenes videos of Electronic Christmas where you see Charles in the studio, kind of similar to Hypergoth. So go ahead and look that up. They should be on YouTube. Now for my review. All right. So once again, this tape was funded by StarChasers, similar to Hypergoth.
Hmm.
I'm glad that fans were able to come together and, help fund a project that they were looking for. Obviously, with Hypergoth, it worked before and they funded it. It came out the way it did and people enjoyed it. Now, if y'all remember, we weren't the biggest fans of it. We gave it a Robotnik then, but that doesn't matter. We're just two people. So the fact is that Electronic Christmas came out, people funded it again. They made the money they made and they made another project. So that means something's working. The people are putting their money where their mouth is. You know what I mean? Um, I will say this, and I have to apologize. I feel like I came into the project wrong. I expected this to be maybe more similar to something Christmas like because of the name. So when I first heard it, I think I was maybe like not necessarily disappointed, but just like thrown off.
Hmm.
Um, but when you strip that away, nevertheless, the tape suffers from similar things that Hypergoth did. Lack of narrative, not a solid direction. Some songs they sound slapped together. We talk about the lack of direction, or the beat's nice, but then Charles is just rambling or rapping about whatever.
Hmm.
There's also repetition in there, and I think that like when Charles on some songs he's like, "Oh, you didn't want me to do this, great," or the this and that, and it's like, okay, we talked about that before. Um, I feel like that might be the downside of some funded projects. To me, it sounds like it's free reign. And what I mean by that is, hey, Star Chasers, put your money up. I'm gonna create a project, that you guys will enjoy. The fans put the money up. Great. And then what I mean by free reign is, Charles, you have to trust in Charles to make some type of product that you're going to enjoy.
Hmm.
And if he decides, hey, I'm going to the studio and I'm going to get drunk and I'm going to rap this out and I'm going to be unfocused or I'm going to be whatever, that's what you're getting. You already paid the money for it. You're not getting a refund on it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's I don't want to say buyer beware, but it's one of those things where it's like if you like what you're getting, cool. But if you let's say if you liked Hypergoth, but then you weren't a fan of this, that's going to make you a little bit iffy the next time he comes out with another fan funded project. You know what I mean? So you guys just gotta be careful what you're listening to, what you're looking for. Um, there are some great beats on this project. There's decent songs I do like on here. I do like this more than Hyper God.
Okay.
Once again, we talked about the remaster thing. I don't think this really needed to be remastered. It's like I said, it's nice that we have it, but overall, I can't see myself listening to this again that often. This is going to have to be placed in the Robotnik folder. Overall, it's I'm placing in Robotnik because if I personally paid for this and then I got this, I wouldn't be a happy camper for the most part. It ends up being a free project for me, but at the same time, it's like I'm still holding you to a certain caliber, a certain standard. So for me, it's a Robotnik, too one focus for me, too much of the extra stuff that doesn't need to be there. Beats are great, but it's it's not for me. Not a fair.
Um, Echoing everything you said as far as, fan funded, if the fans, I feel like, because again, I like to go through the comments, man, just to see what people are saying, right? And it's, your normal characters. A lot of them watch our show. Shout out to you guys, man. And they seem to really enjoy certain songs, whatever. You can see some of them have more comments and more views than others, but it seemed like overall, it seemed like people would enjoy it. And like we've talked about, we've been in Discord, we've been on Twitter and different places where people like, oh, I like the Electronic Christmas. That was a good album for me. I'm like, cool, that's great. So I, for me, man, it's just that a lot of things I noticed about this tape, just as far as like this era, and one of them is I like these beats. I think the beats sound good, but they just for whatever reason there's something different, and I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but like the way he makes beats now, it's like it doesn't have as much bombasticness to it. It's more soulful. It's more like not stripped, but more. It's like everything's like this, just a straight line. Like the beat may sound good, but it's not like no highs, no lows, where like it kind of brings things down or brings things up. But like I said, the beats are fine, but it's just that let me pick this word out of the sky. Let me put these things together. Let me mash these two. Let me just make a song. Let me name this title and just rap about anything. That doesn't do it for me. It feels more mixtapey than anything. But when you're presenting this as an album, I kind of expect a certain level of direction, like you said, a certain level of direction. I think another thing that at least me and you had talked about, me more so, is just that there's 12 songs on this tape, but it feels long. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like where I was listening and I was like, okay, I must be near the end of the tape, and I was only on track 7. I'm like, yo, that's wild. Like how I feel like I've been listening for like a long time. Um, and that just shows like there's nothing where I'm looking down like, okay, this is track 1, cool. Oh, this is track 2. It got to a point where I was like, oh, it's track 1, and I looked down, I was like, oh, well, I'm only on track 7, but it felt longer. So it's not necessarily the greatest listen either, as far as from front to back, right? Even though the beats may sound good. Um, I'm going to say that although the beats sound better, and there are songs that I did like on here, I don't think there's a song on here that I like more than Childhoodless or Know You're Wrong from Hypergoth. So for me, I like Hypergoth better. Um, but they are both going to go in the same folder as well. I'm going to give this Robotnik because, like you, I don't see myself revisiting this in the future. Like I might pick a song like, oh, I remember this song, or like if I have to show somebody something, or like what I'm saying, something like that. Like always, we encourage you to listen to it. We always encourage you to listen to all the records because our reviews are just our reviews. We're not everybody. There are people who love this record. I've seen it here. I love this album, stuff like that. But for me personally, it's just something I'm not gonna revisit.
Understandable. Um, I know Charles said to me recently on one of the recent episodes we did, he felt like we were kind of holding back on like reviewing it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's more because some of the music was like older music, you know what I mean? So like if we're giving you like, you know, constructive criticism, it's like stuff that, you could already work on or you've been already worked on because this stuff came out in early 2000s. You know what I mean? So it's like, by this time, it's like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Compared to something like now that came out about a year or two ago. You know what I mean? So like, and Charles has been implementing this like constructive criticism. I'd say is like we said, but what you said with beats, right?
Hmm.
The beats might just sound like this because hey, the beat might sound good, but it's no higher or lower or anything like that. I think with Charles sometimes it's just him working on too much music all the time. You know, you call Charles or whatever, he's probably working on a beat. He's probably working on a song. He's literally just working on beats all the time. So that's probably why everything sounds streamlined because it's just like, oh, I just got done making this beat. It was really nice. Well, time to make another beat.
Hmm.
Oh man, just a really nice beat. Time to make another beat. Or time to make another song. Time to make another project that we might
Yeah.
not hear for like another year or two. You know what I mean? So it's like Charles is doing this now, or he's getting better at it with taking his time with music.
Hmm.
But I know with him sometimes it's the whole I keep pumping out music, pumping out music, pumping out music. It's always good to have it, but at the same time, it's just like when you're just making music constantly, I think sometimes there's never like a higher or lower or understanding of like what's going to be considered, oh, this is great compared to, oh, this is just good, or this is not as great as your other stuff previously.
Yeah.
So, if I was to, have like a takeaway from this, like, of course, keep taking your time making music or whatever. Keep making music that, StarChasers are going to love, especially when it's fan created projects. Maybe him having to work on a deadline and make a fan funded project, maybe he might want to shy away from that because, like he said, oh man, I'm thinking too hard, thinking too much, and then that might ruin the creative process. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, but what do you guys think about Electronic Christmas, man? Does it fit the holiday theme, or is it just an album that sounds really good to you, man? Let us know over on Star Chaser Central on YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter, Star C8 Central. You can follow us on our individual pages. I'm at Stick Around 54, STIK around 54 on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, where can they find you, buddy?
On Instagram, the Mike Jackson, Mike Jackson on Twitter, Mike D Jackson, Mike DEE Jackson, one D, two E's. Holla at me. Make sure you guys are following Charles on Twitter at Charles Hamilton. Make sure you are checking him out on YouTube and you're subscribed to him at the talented Mr. Hamilton. Yesterday, obviously, when you guys see this, it'll be some other time, but yesterday he went live randomly. I didn't get to join the live because I was at work, and I'm not saying that he's going to be keep doing it every week and all that, but it's make sure you're subscribed to him because you never know when he's actually going to go live. I know some of the people in the Discord, they said, "Yo, Charles is live. In case y'all haven't seen it, check it out." And then I mentioned this earlier a lot, but the blog. Make sure you guys are in tune with the blog. You could read all those blogs that I mentioned, like at the top left of the corner. There's a little search bar. I just typed in Electronic Christmas, and you see everything that Charles mentioned with Electronic Christmas. But the blog, enterthehamilton.blogspot.com. Go read on whatever he's doing now, even read on some stuff back then in case there's stuff we missed on. But there you go. There it is.
Be sure to let us know what you want us to listen to next. We have a backlog of stuff, plus stuff we've been excited to get to. We're heading into a new year. Happy New Year's to everybody. Um, and we're just excited about what comes next in the Charles Hamilton Star Chaser Central streets, man. Mike, you have anything for the people before we head up?
One or two things. Number one, like usual, thank you guys for checking out another episode, checking out the podcast. I think by this time, by the time you guys see this, whatever, we're coming up on 250 subscribers, so that's pretty dope. By the time this comes out, we might be over that. Also, I'm definitely counting on a lot of y'all because we have people that comment on these videos and whatnot. If you disagree with our rating, please say something. Say, hey, this is why I like the tape. This is why I like the project. These are the songs I really like. You know what I mean? Because then that shows Charles and everybody else, like, hey, these two guys, they have their own opinion, but we also have ours. And this is why we funded it. This is why. I hate for it to sound like, oh, we're the only two people talking and then we're the loudest. Or it's like that's not what it is. So make sure you guys are engaged with us and make sure you're joining in on conversation. Even if you only say one or two things like, hey, you guys are wrong. I like this. Hey, hey, join in. You know what I mean? So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, man. We enjoy the banter, man. Like I said, we're just two guys, not necessarily the we're not the be all end all when it comes to Charles Hampton music, man. He has so many star chasers and he wants to hear from all of you guys. So the more you can speak to the music, the better for everything, man. But we are logging out of the Star Chaser Central podcast where we always encourage you to follow your dreams.
And jingle my balls. I'm kidding. Reach for the stars.
Or jingle his balls, who knows?
Tastes like oatmeal. Put some butter on it. Put some butter on it. Little sugar on it. Put some butter on it.